I'd like to be mindful of your time. So the time is 5:30 p.m. I would like to call our work session to order. Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Davis,
Present.
Ms. Green,
Present.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Lawson,
Here.
Ms. Rolls,
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez, Ms. Hill.
Present. Thank you. We will begin with the work of the Administration Committee. We have 5 resolutions for discussion this evening. I don't believe some of the potential appointees are present yet, but we can still get started. I'd like to begin with Resolution 27 of 2026. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 27 of 2026, a resolution appointing Mr. Patrick V. D. to serve on the Building and Housing Code Board of Appeals of the City of Harrisburg.
Thank you. Is Mr. D present? Okay, if you wouldn't mind joining us. Up here, please. Good evening. And that microphone does move, so if you need to pick it up and move it closer to you, that's fine, so that those listening on YouTube or watching on Channel 20 are able to hear you okay. If you wouldn't mind taking a few moments to please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Patrick D. I'm a Harrisburg resident, lived here since 2008. Moved here from Georgia, lived in Colorado, born in Chicago. So came out here to work at a church in Hummelstown, was with the church for a few years, and then started buying real estate here in town and have been doing that since 2015. Own about 80 some units in and around the city.
Okay, interesting. What sparked your interest to potentially serve on the Building and Housing Code Board of Appeals for the City of Harrisburg?
I have been, since I kind of left church work, I haven't had a lot of community involvement and have looked for some different ways to get re-engaged. Wayne became the building administrator. Recently, I've known Wayne for several years. He reached out, asked if I'd be interested in helping to serve in this way. I thought it'd be a good fit.
Okay, great. What impact do you believe you will be able to make through your service?
I don't have a lot of clarity on what all that board is going to do. I have a lot of experience in construction and working with nonprofits and working with conflict resolution. So I do think that I'd be a helpful presence on the board. I do have some previous board experience with different organizations. And like I said, I'm pretty familiar with construction. Before being a pastor, I worked my way through college as an electrician, started a general contracting company, started an electrical contracting company, built custom homes, did large-scale electrical contracting work. So I've got a good amount of experience in the trades, understand what's involved with working with codes and construction and inspectors and all that goes with that.
Thank you. So just for everyone's reference, listening, pursuant to the codified ordinances of the City of Harrisburg, Section 8-501.1, the Building and Housing Code Board of Appeals of the City of Harrisburg shall be comprised of 5 members. Pursuant to Section 8-501.1, subsection A, appointment of board members shall be made by the mayor with the advice and consent of City Council. Pursuant to Section 8-501.1, subsection B, appointees to the board must be residents of the City of Harrisburg. Pursuant to Section 8-501.1, subsection C, appointees to the board shall hold no other office or employment in the government of the city or serve on any of its boards, commissions, and authorities. Pursuant to Section 8-501.1, subsection B, Appointments shall be for a term of 3 years and shall serve until a successor is appointed. Mr. D's term shall commence on June 1st, 2026, and will expire on June 1st, 2029, just for your reference. I don't have any other questions. I'm going to open the floor to my colleagues who may have some additional questions for you. I'd like to begin with our Building and Housing Committee Chair, Councilwoman Davis. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, President Hill. Good evening, Mr. D. I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for your willingness to serve. I've reviewed your resume. It's very impressive. And so thank you, but no questions.
Thank you. Good evening, Councilman Rodriguez. Do you have any questions?
Good evening, Madam President. Excuse my tardiness. A lot of construction going on around the city. It was hard to. Thank you for joining us this evening, Mr. D, and your willingness to serve in this capacity. I guess my only question or line of questioning is geared towards any conflicts of interest or potential conflicts of interest you may see with other positions you hold.
The only conflict of interest I would see would be if there was ever any issues with properties that I own in the city. I'm not involved with any other boards or organizations in the city, so I don't see conflicts that way. I think if there was ever an issue with any of my properties or my projects, I would just have to, recuse myself.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that answer. Nothing further.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rawls, any questions?
Good evening, Mr. D. Thank you for your willingness to volunteer to be on this board. I don't have any questions. That was mine too with the conflict of interest, because I saw that on your resume you are responsible for multi-property building management. So you answered that if there's any buildings that come up that you own that are in Harrisburg, you would recuse yourself. So thank you for that integrity, and thank you for your willingness to serve again.
Thank you. Vice President Jones, any questions?
Thank you. No questions. Again, I would reiterate what my colleague said. Thank you for your willingness to serve, and being that you are a property owner. I think your resume sticks out. It's a well established resume, may I say, and I think your voice in this space could be helpful. You can understand a lot of the things that some of the other homeowners go through in this regard. So I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Green, any questions?
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here tonight, and of course for your willingness to serve the city of Harrisburg. I don't have any questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lawson, any questions?
Thank you, President Hill. And thank you also, Mr. D, for your willingness to serve. And to the spirit of some of the other questions, what is your relationship with codes like? Have you had any interaction?
I've had interaction with codes, both from pulling permits, dealing with codes inspectors for the housing, with tenants and that type of thing. So I've had good experiences and pleasant experiences. I've had unpleasant experiences. That's just part of the nature of the beast. But, I've been in the construction industry for decades prior to being in Harrisburg, so I understand that not all the time does everybody see things the same way. But as long as I've found typically that there's been a willingness from the codes department to find solutions, and that's really what I think I would be looking to help accommodate, is just find solutions and make sure we're getting good work done here in the city, and that the city's interests, which should align for the most part with our residents' interests, are being looked after. So.
Okay. And do you believe that your history as being a property manager, property owner, will give you an insight that could be helpful for those who are appealing a codes decision?
Absolutely. I think there's times when it doesn't feel that the system's very easy to navigate, and I think that's a frustration for people, especially homeowners who don't know what to be expected. But then there's, you've got professionals who also know exactly what should be expected, and they're trying to get around the system. So there's kind of an awareness of where people are coming from when they're coming to a point of appeals with the, when I'd be interacting with any situation.
Okay, great. I appreciate your experience, and I appreciate you coming and putting yourself forward to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I move to add Resolution 27 of 2026 to our next legislative session agenda for a formal vote. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 28 of 2026, Resolution 29 of 2026, and Resolution 30 of 2026. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read all three resolutions into the record?
Resolution 28 of 2026, a resolution reappointing Ms. Evelyn Hunt to serve on the License and Tax Appeal Board. Resolution 29 of 2026, a resolution appointing Mr. Stephen M. Ketterer to serve on the License and Tax Appeal Board. Resolution 30 of 2026, a resolution reappointing Mr. Dan A. Shoulder, Esquire, to serve on the License and Tax Appeal Board.
Thank you. I don't believe Ms. Hunt is present. Is Mr. Ketterer and Mr. Schudler present? Okay, thank you. If you wouldn't mind joining us here. Thank you. As you can see, the microphones move. If you could press them on and just take a few minutes to introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself to everyone.
Yes, my name is Steve Ketter. First off, I want to thank the council members for the opportunity to come before you and introduce myself and offer my background. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Harrisburg. Very much involved in a lot of community activities, as indicated on my resume. And probably most important is the fact that I am a former city employee for a long time in the Tax and Enforcement Office as the administrator. So I come here before you with a good amount of knowledge on how the ordinance is pertaining to businesses and the rules and regulations.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name...
Your microphone's not on. Thank you.
Press the button, the green light. I should have known. Hello, my name's Dan Shoulder. I'm a shareholder in the international law firm of Cozen O'Connor, resident in their Harrisburg office. I've been in Harrisburg since 1986. I'm a homeowner in the Uptown area, 2900 block of Green Street. You've seen my resume information. I've been a member of the State Tax Committee of the PICPA for over 30 years. I've been its chair for a number of years, several different terms. I've been a member of the Pennsylvania Bar Tax Committee for a number of years and been a chair of that committee as well. I've had extensive experience in the state and local tax arena, arguing for passage of various legislation and reviewing and interpreting legislation, helping the legislature in various aspects of state and local tax matters over the last 30 years.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for joining us this evening. Just for everyone's reference, I'll read a little bit of the ordinance stating the role of the board. So pursuant to ordinance number 1-1971, a license and tax appeal board was established to hear appeals relating to the issuance of licenses or the imposition of taxes, including requests for refunds of any such taxes, license fees, interest, or penalties paid to the city of Harrisburg. Pursuant to Title V, Chapter 5-101.1 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Harrisburg, the License and Tax Appeal Board shall be comprised of 3 members to be appointed by the mayor with advice and consent of City Council. The terms of each board appointee shall be 3 years and shall be so fixed that the term or office of one member shall expire each year, with seated members remaining on the board until a successor is appointed to serve a new term, or, if applicable, the remaining portion of a current term. Mr. Ketterer, you will be appointed to the seat vacated by Ms. Stacy Bassor. Your appointment to the License and Tax Appeal Board for a term expiring January 1st, 2027. And Mr. Schudler, as you mentioned, you have been serving as a member of the board since 2014, and your latest term expired on January 1st, 2026. So you would be reappointed to the License and Tax Appeal Board for a term expiring January 1st, 2029. I just have one question, same question really to both of you. Mr. Ketterer, what impact do you believe that you will be able to make? You said you are a former city employee, you're well aware of the ordinance. So what impact do you believe you will be able to make as a member of the board?
With my past experience, I will come at a board meeting, if so called, with the strong knowledge and background of how the ordinance and rules and regulations need to be applied and how they should be applied. I'm very familiar with a good amount of businesses in the city, being a small business owner myself. So I feel very confident that I could render a very good decision based on my background and my previous knowledge in the Tax and Enforcement Office.
Excellent, thank you. And what impact do you believe that you can continue to make as a longtime member of the board?
Well, I've been doing this now since 2014, so we've had a number of hearings. We had a major hearing on one problem bar back in 2015 or 2016, and the problem of the city can't be solved without people paying their taxes, the fair share of taxes. And it's important that what they pay is what they're supposed to pay and nothing more. And people seem to want to get away with taxes as usually the last thing people want to pay, which doesn't help in dealing with paying the bills of the city. So I'm here to make sure it's done in a fair and impartial way and to make sure it gets done right.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. I will open the floor to my colleagues who may have some additional questions for you. I'd like to begin with Vice President Jones. Any questions?
Let me see here. I'm afraid of this guy. No, I thank both of you for your serving and your willingness and the work that you've already put in here in the city. One question I can ask for both of you. Being a business owner myself and you being a business owner, you being in this space for since the 80s, right? A lot of things in the tax department, most governments run off of taxes, right? We get that. However, I think in our city codes and ordinances that some of them are archaic. How do you think you can impact and try to remove some of the barriers or assist in removing some of the barriers that businesses face other than evading you from paying the tax?
Go first. Well, unfortunately, I don't think the board members will have the authority to alter the ordinances.
Let me say that. I mean, we are looking at some of the things, right? I mean, are you supportive in, taking a closer look at some of these once we figure out what areas that we can do? Are you supportive of making it a little better for businesses and somewhat easier for people to pay those taxes?
Well, I would say most definitely. And again, being a business owner, I pay my fair share, and I feel it's my civic and duty to do that. Any way that there's a possible avenue to save money legally, without cheating the government, I'm all for that. And if there's, avenues to explore, I would be 100%, all favor. And, if it happens, implement them and bring it to the client, to the business person saying, hey, this is available to you.
As I've said, I've been dealing with the legislature and state and local taxes at the state level for decades. And I regularly get called in as part of the PICPA and the PA Bar to review legislation. More than happy to look at legislation and the codes and update, it's not my job to recommend, but we analyze and review and provide information. I'm used as a resource by the legislature. I'm routinely up there talking about legislation being questioned by the House and the Senate on various pieces of legislation. And so very familiar with the ins and outs and more than happy to look at anything that the city wants to revamp in terms of its codes enforcement for the tax section.
Excuse me. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Green, any questions?
Thank you both for being here tonight. I think your resumes speak for themselves. I don't have any questions for you, but thank you for continuing to look to serve the city of Harrisburg.
Thank you. Councilman Lawson, any questions?
Thank you, President Hill. No particular questions. I thank you both for your willingness to serve. And I guess you both have extensive experience with the area you're heading into. So that's the big plus that I see. Even though, Mr. Kettle, you're coming in fresh, it's not fresh to you because you've already worked with this. So that's what I find very impressive. So I thank you both for your willingness to continue serving the city, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis, any questions?
Thank you, President Hill. Good evening. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your willingness to serve. Mr. Schuler gave an example of serving in the past. So, Mr. Ketterer, could you give us an example of how you, a story or a situation that you remember when you had to work with one of the residents in the city and how you were able to assist that resident with their tax problem?
But it was always an open door policy, sit down, help them figure it out. It's actually not a complicated tax, but being a gross receipts tax, and it has some of its, drawbacks because we're taxing right on the top. But I think, 99.9% of the folks that came in were very appreciative to be able to sit down and help me or have me help them figure it out. And likewise with what Mr. Schuler said, I myself was involved in a couple of appeals when I was a tax administrator. I have to go back to my many years of my days when I was running for political office and so forth. My slogan was tough but fair. And I stick by that to this day. Tough meaning, there's a law to abide by. There's rules and regulations under the tax ordinance, but I consider myself being fair in implementing them.
Thank you for that answer. So you mentioned, so this license and tax, would this cover all taxes, this board?
Just the business, my understanding, just the business privilege and mercantile tax.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think the penalty for business is excessive right now. And I understand that nothing can be done about that until we're out of Act 47. Oh. Well, that's my understanding.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, yeah. So that's something that maybe could be looked at, and I don't know, if you would be able to help the city, the administration at some point. But again, I just think that we're talking about small businesses here.
Yes, exactly.
So
it's interesting to note the mercantile tax and business privilege mercantile tax was established through the state legislature. And back many moons ago, it was capped, and we're at a cap right now. So we can never alter that tax rate. And we, fortunately or unfortunately, we have to split it with the school district. So when that was implemented, that took a chunk out of the city's budget. So, yeah, I mean, I know, and there's always movement on the Hill to eliminate the business privilege tax. So, and if that happens, then you folks are going to be responsible to come up with another alternative for the lost revenues. But that's always on their radar to try to eliminate the business privilege and mercantile tax.
Thank you for sharing that information and for your expertise. Were you going to say something else, Mr. Schuler?
No, it's just the mercantile business privilege tax is part of the Local Tax Enabling Act. It's been around forever and a day, and it can't. The rate cannot be changed. You're kind of locked in as of a specific date, I think almost 40 years ago. So kind of stuck.
I'm an advocate for the residents, so I always want to
But as soon as you get out of Act 47, the penalties go back and the interest goes back to what it is in the code, because you're getting an additional interest and you're getting additional penalties because you're in Act 47. And I believe you're still in Act 47.
thank you both for being here, and for your willingness to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez, any questions?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, gentlemen, both for joining us this evening. As usual, my line of questioning is just geared towards any potential conflicts of interest either of you may foresee with either of your current roles or previous roles you may hold.
I feel very confident that I would not have any conflicts of interest. Like I said, I file my taxes on a timely basis. Pretty simple, so it's not like I'm, complicated that I would have to come in here. And so, no, at this point, I don't foresee any conflicts down the road at all.
Love the G-shot.
I don't foresee any conflict. If there is such a conflict, I'll recuse myself.
Awesome.
I have an ethical, I'm a lawyer, so
Yep.
this is a problem. I won't serve, and someone else will be a 2-member board as opposed to a 3-member board for that particular case. So I don't see it being a problem, and I'm with a law firm, so I don't pay business privilege mercantile tax. My firm takes care of that.
Well, thank you for your honesty, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rawls, any questions?
Thank you. Good evening to you both, and thank you for your willingness to be reappointed and for your willingness to be appointed and serve on this board. That was my same question, any conflict of interest, and my other questions were answered too. So I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for everyone's reference, I know Ms. Hunt isn't present this evening, but she has previously served as a member of this board as well since 2014. Her term expired on January 1st, 2025, and she would be reappointed to the License and Tax Appeal Board for a term expiring January 1st, 2028. If there are no further questions, I move to add Resolution 28 of 2026, Resolution 29 of 2026, and Resolution 30 of 2026 to our next legislative session agenda for a formal vote. Thank you both for being here this evening. The final resolution for discussion with the Administration Committee is Resolution 39 of 2026. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 39 of 2026, a resolution approving the disposal, destruction, recycling, or donation of certain personal property owned by the City of Harrisburg which have exhausted their useful life for city operations.
Thank you. Who's present on behalf of the administration to discuss Resolution 39 of 2026?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tom McGarity. I'm a captain with the Harrisburg Bureau of Police.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Aaron Schaffhauser, Deputy Director of IT.
Excellent. Thank you both for being here this evening. Who would like to provide an overview of the resolution?
Yes, we just have old, obsolete equipment, no longer covered under any sort of warranty or sometimes even broken, that we would like to dispose of. We have, should I go through the whole list?
If you'd like to, or you can hit the high notes, it's up to you. We do have it as an exhibit to the resolution.
Like phones, cameras, monitors, and, 4 TVs, network switches. I think the most, like the laptops and the desktops, which are obsolete, old, and can no longer be used because they're not supported by Microsoft or Dell, So some printers, a scanner, DVR, badge printer, and some old services. In some cases, up to 10 years old, so.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, ma'am. I will save you reading the whole list because it is quite extensive, but basically everything that has to do with our outdated body-worn cameras and our older radio systems, both of which have already been replaced with a newer generation. Much like was stated earlier, these devices are no longer serviceable. They've reached the end of their useful life for our purposes. The exception to that would be the Motorola portable radios and the mobile radios. Most of these items have no value. We've looked at resale or trade. The items of value would be, again, the radios. Those would be slotted with the assistance of the Harrisburg Fire Bureau to go to volunteer fire companies around the city. I can tell you, having been on multiple fire scenes, there was actually one called out here on the radio a minute ago. It's not uncommon to see those fire companies come into the city, so those resources would ultimately come back in service a little bit, but that would be about all we could get out of them.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions. It seems pretty straightforward to me. I will open the floor to my colleagues who may have some additional questions. I'd like to begin with Councilwoman Green, our Public Safety Committee Chair. Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. It's pretty straightforward and simple, so thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Lawson, any questions?
Thank you, President Hill. No questions. Thank you very much.
Vice President Jones, any questions?
Yeah, can you go through the list one by one? So, no questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis, any questions?
Thank you, President Hill. Good evening. Thank you for being here. No questions. Just one. Where does all of the equipment go from here once you discard of it? Does it go to the junkyard, or what do you do with it?
As far as IT, we have a disposal company, local disposal company, that they certify as destruction of.
Okay.
We would be partnering with IT, try and recycle some of the materials. It's quite a bit of material, but again, it's kind of useless for what it was designed for at this point.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez, any questions?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Captain, Deputy Director, for joining us this evening. No questions from me.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rawls, any questions?
Good evening to you both. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam President, just for the public's sake, there was part of Exhibit B missing in the published version. We provided a printout of it. It's actually the list of the radios, or I'm sorry, the body cams. We provided to the clerk and to the council tonight, and we will make sure it gets up online so people can see it.
Great. Thank you for clarifying. If there are no further questions, I move to add Resolution 39 of 2026 to our next legislative session agenda for a formal vote. Thank you both for being here this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Council.
Pleasure.
This concludes the business of the Administration Committee. Next, we have the business of the Budget and Finance Committee. I will defer to our Budget and Finance Committee Chair, Vice President Jones.
Thank you, President Hill. Mr. Truesdale, can you please read Resolution 40 of 2026 into the record?
Resolution 40 of 2026, a resolution approving the third proposed 2026 budget reallocation.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that can speak to this from the administration? I see. Man, he had a whole squad. If you guys don't mind introducing yourselves and just give a small overview about this reallocation.
Good evening, Council. My name is Bob Kennick. I'm the Finance Director, and I have Brian McCutcheon and Alex Berstein with me. Alex will go through the presentation of the reallocation schedule, after which, between the three of us, we hope to be able to answer any questions you might still have.
Hello, Alexander Berstein, Assistant to the Finance Director. Good evening, Council. So overall, as before you have the proposed third reallocation for 2026, of which one exhibit with 3 items. Item A pertains to the Broad Street Market with the current budgeted, with the current construction going on and encumbrances, its expenses have exceeded the current budget. To address the matter, we are proposing the following. So within the general fund, under the general revenue expense account for transfer and of the CDBG fund, currently there is no budget for it, and we're proposing that with the funds being drawn down, $2,286,936. That's going to be seen in column H, and that will change from the current budget of it being 0 to, as stated, $2,286,936. The next revenue account pertaining to this is insurance reimbursement for loss, which currently has an available budget of $6,820,000, and we're proposing that it be increased by $3 million to $9,820,000, and thusly the expense account underneath the Bureau of Facilities, where we have Broad Street Market, as can be seen, shy of a million due to the encumbrances. We are $973,942 over the budget at the moment due to the encumbrances, and so we propose increasing that by $3,286,936 to amend it to amend the current available budget to $2,312,994. Moving on to item A. The Harrisburg Housing Authority is an initiative of the administration. While the grants to locals unit expense account for this usually would be under the host municipality fee fund, for item B, we are proposing that be moving to the general fund under general expenses in the equivocal expense account, grants to local units, of which has a current available budget of $156,300. That would be raising it up by $200,000 to $356,300 as a result. For item C, this pertains to the 2026 awarded distributions for the grants to local units, of which involves the $25,200 for the Evolve Youth Trades that City Council is interested in. To adjust for that, we're tapping a fund balance, adjusting estimated cash carryover to reflect fund balance for the $617,500 that's currently there, adjusting by $30,200 to change it to $647,700. And following that, the grants to local units expense account underneath host municipality fund, currently at $300,200. We're amending it by 5,000 to adjust it to 305,200, so that the annual July Music Series is covered. There is to take a closer look at the grants to local units, we also have a little breakdown titled the Summary Host Fund Specific Designations, the 2026 award distributions, for further clarity regarding what is there for grants to local units. If you have any questions, let us know.
All right. Thank you for that explanation. And just for my own edification and the public's, when we're looking at item A in the general fund, when it comes to the Harrisburg Housing Authority, we are actually moving the 200,000 over to equal up to 356,300. So when that 200 is spent or sent over to the Housing Authority, we'll go back to the 156, correct?
That would bring the available budget down once expended.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other one would be, in regards to the Broad Street Market, there's some other funds being moved over there, and you talked about the encumbrances. Would this be in regards to the change orders?
Yes, there's been several contract change orders due to, I believe earlier, one example was when that wall collapsed. There were change orders pertaining to that. And as reflected in the available budget, those encumbrances have caused our current budget for the situation to be over by $973,942. And that's thusly the reason for item A.
Right. So do we expect any more change orders?
I think that we have a question for facilities. I don't think we have a good answer for that, but we can try and get one for you.
Okay.
Get back to you. I think Dave Baker's out today.
All right, no problem. Good. Go ahead.
Yep. Can I comment further?
Sure.
On that, yeah. Good evening, City Council members. Brian McCutcheon, Accounting Manager. Thank you, President Hill. Thank you, Vice President Jones. Getting used to the new mic. Roughly about 2 weeks ago, we met collectively with the mayor's office and also facilities to get an update on Broad Street Market. And based on the encumbrances that were in effect at that time and still are, they are all based on what the balances were at the end of last year, and they accordingly rolled forward along with budget. Those were based on, again, balances per the encumbrances, but did not reflect any contingencies. So those have subsequently occurred, and that's a big part of the request this evening. At that point,
just in case.
Correct. There were, at the time when we met, there were actually additional change orders with 4 of the contractors that were not yet posted. And then also with Dave's department, working with the project manager, there was an additional $2 million+ asked for, and this is where I'm not the one to comment on it, but it has to do with solidifying or securing the ground around the building, and also having to do with helical pylons, if I'm saying that correctly. But long story short on that, there's an additional over $2 million asked for additional change orders. And we project that the total project cost based on this, and the sense is we are, of course, closer to the end of any subsequent contingencies, that the total project cost will be approximately $23.7 million. We took that figure and based on what we've paid already and what the current budget is, to come up with this budget adjustment of $3.286 million. And that gets us to the available budget balance of $2.312, which is made up essentially of that $2 million plus any change orders that were already in the system but not yet posted, subject to approval. So that's the expense side. The revenue side to support, as Alex mentioned, they're through the Community Development Block Grant Funds, CDBG funds. We've already received on deposit not quite $2.3 million that was specifically drawn for this particular project, and also increasing our insurance proceeds line by $3 million to reflect essentially these additional change orders, which are so material and also relate to contingencies that may yet occur, but also to the wall collapse that has actually occurred. So the combination of the three lines are reflected on this schedule.
And also, can you, because this is a high price tag for this project, right? Can you speak to that for the public's, edification regarding the price? And this is largely due to the historical value or space of the Broad Street Market, the price tag.
Right, well, the total estimated project cost?
Yes.
And again, I don't know if Debbie's here. I think she is. If Debbie, would you mind if I call upon you to comment on that? Debbie Rehart?
Hello, Debbie Rehart, Senior Project Manager. What was the specific question?
Can you expound on the reasoning for the high price tag on this project? Is it mainly around the historical value of the building or the historical zoning of it?
Right, that's some of it, but I'm sure you know that construction these days is very expensive just in general. Costs have gone way up on all kinds of things, wood and everything. And of course, we had the wall collapse. That was, I think Brian said, about $2.5 million cost to shore everything up so that the wall doesn't collapse again, to make sure that it's
And to be clear,
steady.
we're not just talking about the one that burned. This is including upgrades on the other brick building as well, correct? On the inside, or stabilization of it, the stone building.
Are you talking about the stone building?
Yes.
No, this is just the brick building.
The total cost is just for the brick.
And there's ancillary things as well. Of course, there's the courtyard between the two buildings.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. My other question, just around Section C or Item C in regards to Evolve Youth Trades. And could you please, in regards to that, that allocation, it's my understanding that even with the approval by council, there's yet to been an award letter sent to Evolve Youth, and at some point, if there is ever one sent, will this money go back into this fund or the general? Can you explain, speak to that?
Yeah, certainly. And you're correct. Nothing has been expended really for any of these listed organizations. Actually, $25,000 has been encumbered for the music series event for Pop's House, but there's been no actual spend. So, and I believe I'm following you. This resolution represents a bit of housekeeping, which we did not include whenever the budget was put together for this year, to specifically tag each amount to the organization or the entity. So this resolution brought before you tonight proposes to accomplish that by giving an identity to the individual amounts. Just to tag the amounts and the names, but knowing that once...
so there's no contracts as of yet?
No, and relative to that, it would be, if this would be approved, it would be then up to the mayor to designate like an award letter on the mayor's office letterhead to continue. But this is not locking in these amounts to these particular entities as of right now. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the explanation. I have no further questions, and I will kick it all the way down to Councilwoman Davis.
You had to think about my name, right?
Nah, I just wanted to see if you was ready. I see.
Thank you, Vice President Jones. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. I don't think I have any questions. I pretty much understand everything you've been explaining. The numbers make sense to me. And Vice President Jones just asked a question that I was going to ask. Okay. So if this resolution is approved, okay, so once the resolution is approved, if it's approved, does the items under the summary at the bottom of the chart here actually go to these individuals? Is that what happens, or?
So technically, no.
Okay.
So the reason that they're listed is the council is there agreeing that this is the funds these individual groups could get. Because they weren't listed out in the budget,
Right.
then it was a lump sum grant number, and with no specific allocation. The only one that was in the host fee allocated this past year was CAGA. And when you do that, when the council lists them and the mayor team presents them in the budget that way, then the mayor can issue an award letter because it's specific who it's going to. So this is a kind of a housekeeping. I think everyone knew who was supposed to get the money. It just never went into that document. So then it triggers it. The mayor can then start issuing award letters for these. Obviously, some of these are summer-related events. A housekeeping matter for reasons that are not clear. For last year's summer program, they never drew down their money. That's part of why you have the $200,000 from the general fund, because it wasn't rolled forward. It wasn't rolled forward because it wasn't really clear. So they didn't get last year's money, and they're approved for this year's money. So, and that's still being worked through. I think that was a change in staffing at the Housing Authority. So that's why that's there. So that's really the only addition to what happened in December is that number.
Well, thank you for further clarifying. No further questions.
And just to follow up on Neil's comment about HHA, historically, the host fund has been this primary source for funding the summer youth program. You'll note, as Alex went over, he mentioned the $200,000 that's up in the general fund for general expenses, and it's 1 year is for 25, the other year is for 2026. And because HHA didn't submit their 2025 supporting documentation until January of this year, as the solicitor mentioned, there was no spend. So for 2026, to lump in both is a significant amount, of course, at $400,000, catching both programs. The fund, however, cannot absorb that much of a weight on the expense side, primarily because not so much these other entities, but the Broad Street Market, ironically looping back to that, there's $500,000 that's encumbered within the host fund currently. So that's taking up a large piece of the available funding. So the task was what to do about the $200K amount for HHA, and we picked on the general fund, of course, to accommodate that, and there is available budget within overall right now. There's an excess of budgeted revenue versus budgeted expenses of about $375,000. So there's a little bit of wiggle room there to accommodate this additional $200,000 that the administration is looking to provide funding to HHA for both program years. So that's why you're seeing that extra item B on this particular schedule.
Okay,
Yep.
so we're kind of toggling back between the host fund and the general fund then with.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Vice President Jones. No questions for me. Thank you all for joining us this evening.
President Hinton. No. Councilwoman Rawls.
Yeah, you were. No, but thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight and further explaining this. Not really, I don't know if I have a big question or more just concerns. I'm always concerned with when it comes to the Broad Street Market, and I always feel like we put out so much money from it from other entities within our budget, and I just don't want us to forget about other projects in the city that are just as important. Not saying this is any less important, but sometimes I feel like some things are preventable, like the wall falling, and the timeline of how long this is taking. When is it going to be done now? Is there a new timeline? Okay, what's the new timeline, please?
We're expecting to have it complete by May 31st, 2027.
Okay. Thank you for that updated timeline. I was unaware. And, just little concerns about that. I just want to make sure the rest of the city is getting its just due as well. I don't know if this is going to be a question or more like a comment, but with Evolve Trade, I know the director has been here at least twice to our meetings concerned about not receiving the funds for her program yet. And I know just now it was said that right now this is just kind of housekeeping and it's here, but it doesn't mean if we approve it, that the mayor is going to release those funds, because at that point it's up to her to send out the award letter. So,
Woman Rawls, we've already approved, the council has approved these funds.
yeah, this is true in the budget. This is true, but I mean, I shouldn't say it that way. We have approved it, but right now it's line itemized more so, because when we approved it, it was chunked together. Right, it was chunked together as the $330,000. I remember
Right.
that in the budget because we all
Right.
asked, well, what does that mean?
Right. Council actually did an amendment specifically for this and spelled it out within that amendment back when the budget was being finalized
Yes.
for this year.
Correct.
Right.
So I do understand all of that.
Okay.
I think my concern still is, she's been here twice and asked about her funds, and now it's still, well, they could be released, but not. And I just hope that somebody contacts her if they're not released and, it communicates what's happening, because we've done our part and there's nothing else for us to do. And I just feel bad that sometimes I don't have the answers for her. So I just hope there's some communication with this. But you want to say something, Solicitor Grover?
So the city doesn't give out many real grants, right? But because it's public money, there's an audit trail requirement.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's not just a notice of award letter, it's documentation from the organization to show that how money is spent, and that's the request that was made from the mayor, I think, directly to the director of that program. Some records came, but not very much, and that was what was being looked for.
Records from
the applicant.
Evolve Trade.
Yeah,
the applicant.
and so that happens with other applicants. We've had some in the past CDBG awards where they were awarded the money and couldn't produce the paperwork to get the contract because they couldn't produce the proof of their past dealings with the funds. And we had hoped, because the school district was involved, and they would have a solid paper trail behind them, and we're hoping that's still the case. But you basically have to be able to show the recipient understands an audit trail for public money, because just as we are subject to audit, they're subject to the audit. And so it's really about that sort of tax dollar handling that sort of drives those things.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that.
Yep.
I do. What I'm saying is the communication part of it, because I don't know if she has been asked all of those questions or has all that information. So there was just a lot of miscommunication, and that's my only part. Since Evolve got brought up tonight, I figured that I would speak on that since she's come twice and asked. So that's all I'm saying. If that's been communicated since I've spoken to her, great. But if not, I hope that it is, because, if she comes back with those same questions, once again, it's out of our hands, and it's unfair when communication is lost. That's it. That's all I had.
Okay.
Thank you.
And again, just be, so Evolve and the public also knows if this money continues to sit, if those documentations aren't provided to the administration, this money will go back into the host municipality fees, right?
Yeah, it stays exactly where it is, and just like any other part of the fund, any other fund, if it's not expended, even though it's budgeted, it stays in that fund.
Yep. I'm just.
Yep.
President Hill.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, excuse me, this evening. I guess my questions lie with the potential awardees as well, and I don't know if it's a question for you or if it's a question for the mayor or if it's a question for some of these entities. I know that we, in the past, we've received presentations and like videos of the work and the output from the funds that were received. So I would be curious to hear directly from them again in the event that they are awarded the funding. Particularly, well, we've heard from the ETC, the Summer Youth Program. We hear from them annually. Students come and make presentations and speak about their experience. So I'm fine there, got that. Pop's House, we've received video presentations of the summer music series. Fine. The Civic Club, we have not received any type of I guess, acknowledgement of what goes on with this citywide Juneteenth celebration. Is it a part of the Young Professionals of Color Juneteenth, or are they separate? I would be curious to know what that entails, because it seems like everything should be one celebration of Juneteenth. The Harrisburg Cougar Midget Football Association, we received a presentation initially around the Harrisburg Youth Sports Association. We learned later that it is not a formalized nonprofit as of yet, but the Harrisburg Cougar Midget Football Association is. So I'd be curious to know if this $60,000, do they anticipate exhausting that? What does that entail? Is that equipment? Is that uniforms for the cheerleaders? What does that look like? And then we have received, as Councilwoman Rawls noted, Evolve Youth Trades updates on the work that the students are doing. So I guess, is this something that we could potentially suspend the rules and hear from these organizations, or is that, am I being premature in that ask?
It is, in the sense, if it was in the December budget allocated, you wouldn't bring them in during the budget season. But you could make the motion to approve this. You could make the release of the funds contingent on a presentation for those. So, and that way you'll have what you've seen from other organizations the same
Right.
way. And I think that's just a simple motion practice on this, and that will bring the groups forward.
Well, I think that that's fair, and that way that we are being completely transparent. We're not just arbitrarily making these motions in support of really our youth. A lot of this is around our youth within the city and families and entertainment for the summer. So I think I would like to make that motion, so just for everybody's reference, because I think it will be helpful moving forward. So that, and really create just an equitable space, and that everyone has an opportunity to share a presentation about the work that their organization is doing. So thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Councilwoman Green.
Thank you very much. I think most of the questions I have kind of already been discussed, so I don't have any questions for you at this time. Thank you.
Councilman Lawson.
Thank you, Vice President Jones. I just have one question. It's probably just my not understanding, because we're adding $3 million to our insurance reimbursement. And my question is, is this acting almost like a home equity line where you say, hey, we need more money and the insurance company gives us more, or is there a larger allocation that's there that we're just drawing from?
The insurance proceeds, just a brief update, actually, the city has received, I mean, it's been a while, $4.939 not quite $5 million so far. The city received that back in late 2023. And up until...
From the market, correct?
Specifically for the fire loss.
Yes.
Right. Not, maybe I misheard, not from the market, but from the city's insurance carrier. really up until the latter part of last year in the fall, once the 10 or so contractors came into play and they were approved and the encumbrances were created. Not downplaying the amount of cost up until then, but it wasn't as large. Now that the heavier lifts are happening with these contractors, and of course these contingency amounts, which is no small amount either, our costs are becoming more material. So the anticipated extra increase to revenue is based on our costs are increasing. These change orders are coming through that are relevant to insurance recovery. So we anticipate a larger piece of insurance proceeds to occur this year based on that. Based on, again, what we've received so far and based on the costs that are happening right now and what we project will be for the remainder of the project.
And maybe this is just context and clarity. When the council approved the budget last year, it had the contingency in it. It was about a $23 million budget. There wasn't, about $20 million was under contract by the end of the year, so the $3 million didn't roll forward. So we're almost back to where it was last September. But the $3 million increase in the insurance projection is because those $3 million in change orders, right? Those weren't considered as the budget was being formed because those weren't what the contract was at the time. So the intention of the city is to then submit that additional work in our claim for loss related to the fire. And we were just on a call today. There's a call every month with Liberty and our broker about the claim, about keeping up with what paperwork is. The initial filings had to, of expenditures had to show and catch up with the initial money. So we didn't have a $4 million expenditure. We're just now moving past the time where we've now spent more money than they originally gave us and getting into the process of the claim being submitted and reimbursements coming. We're just there now, and it's sort of taking off as construction's fully underway.
And what I think would help me wrap my mind around it is the policy is basically for like the replacement cost of the market and not necessarily like a cash value or saying, hey, we're going to award you $20 million for the loss, and we're now saying, okay, we're at 23.
So it's a bit of a complicated policy. It's got different components to it. It had a very small professional services component. It has a thing called code compliance, which is a capped number, about $1 million. And it's a very large number because we had bundled every building the city owned into one fire insurance policy. So, but of course, the insurance company wants to show that it's restoring something that was there. So things like HVAC being added isn't covered by fire insurance because there was no HVAC at the time. Things like sprinklers, were not part of it. That's, part of the discussion of whether that's the code compliance money or not, right? And so, we have to meet some modern requirements from an 1860s building. And we're fighting to make sure as much of the fire loss money is collected that we are due. There's more than sufficient coverage for it. The question is getting to agreement that it is part of fire loss and not improvement to what the facility was, and that's a delicate discussion.
Thank you. That actually helps me wrap my head around it when I see the changing numbers and just making sure that yes, we have the ability to go after that with the insurance company as opposed to that falling on and it sounds like some of it will fall on the city where it wasn't part of the original structure, and if it's not a code compliant, like the HVAC and the like of that. But sprinklers, I would argue they probably should take care of that because that's protecting their asset as well as far as preventing future fires.
Well, not shockingly, they're not our insurance company anymore. They dropped us, yes.
Right. Well, then there's that. But thank you. That helps me really get my head around it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, if anyone else have any questions? No, okay. Well, thank you, ladies, gentlemen. This will conclude the work session of the Budget and Finance Committee. And you have something?
No.
Oh, you look like you was ready to.
I thank Debbie for being my lifeline on Broad Street Market this evening, so thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, and I would move to add Resolution 40 of 2026 to our next legislative session, and then I would ask my colleagues to support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our final committee business lies with the Public Works Committee. I will defer to our Public Works Committee Chair, Councilman Rodriguez, to lead discussion.
Thank you, President Hill. Mr. Truesdale, can you please read Resolution 33 of 2026 into the record?
Resolution 33 of 2026, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to submit and enter into a sidewalk and mural maintenance and roadway lighting agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation in relation to the improvements to the McClay Street Bridge and authorizing the designation of the city engineer as the sole signatory of the agreement.
Thank you for that. And speaking of our city engineer, Mr. Siders, great to see you as always. Can you please give an overall of Resolution 33 of 2026 for everyone, please?
Sure. Good evening.
Good evening.
This resolution comes in preparation of PennDOT replacing or planning to replace both bridges on McClay Street from between 7th and Cameron Street. There is a multi-span bridge over the railroad and then a smaller single-span bridge over Paxton Creek. After these are complete, the city will then be part of this maintenance agreement would then be that the city takes some maintenance responsibilities of these bridges. There would be 3 parts to this maintenance agreement. The first part would be the sidewalk maintenance. So we would be required by PennDOT to keep the sidewalks open and clear at all time. Basically, that means snow removal, any trash and debris that accumulates, we would remove, and then also keep it accessible, which means we also then salt it in the wintertime. The second portion would be a lighting agreement. So with the large span of the bridge over the railroad tracks, there's not enough street lighting, so they have to attach the lights to the bridge itself. Part of this agreement would be then, at no cost to the city, PennDOT installs these bridges as part of their project, and then at the end of the project, turn over ownership and operation and maintenance to the city. And then the third task is that there is a planned mural for this, the longer span bridge over the railroad track. It's going to span, it's going to be on the inside face of both barriers for the full length, and part of the maintenance agreement would be that the city maintains that for a 25-year period, and that includes an inspection every 5 years, and basically it's removing any graffiti, dirt, grime, if we had to touch up a few spots here and there, and that's pretty much the extent of the maintenance agreement.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I remember when there were murals on the inside going down to the train, the railroad tracks, right on that Mulberry Street Bridge. There was a beautiful mural years ago, maybe over a decade ago, and then I believe we kind of painted over it. What would be the process to perhaps get artists to do the work?
So PennDOT is currently, I don't want to speak for PennDOT, but I believe they are contracting with Sprocket Mural Works to do the mural.
Gotcha. All right.
And
well,
I believe part of their outreach would be public outreach to locals in the area to get ideas on how the mural should look.
it would be PennDOT's procedure, though,
Correct.
correct? And then once it's completed by way of lights, murals, hands over to the city. We have to maintain it for at least a 25-year period. No, absolutely. Anything else you would like to add before I pass it to my colleagues?
Just a brief timeline. So this project is ready to be advertised in June. It will be let in July, which means that the contractor will probably have notice to proceed by the end of this year, and they are projecting completion to be fall of 2030.
Fall of?
2030.
Okay. All right. Awesome. I'll open it up to my colleagues, starting on my far end, Councilman Lawson.
All right, thank you, Chair Rodriguez, and you answered my question. I was wondering, I was trying to figure out where this mural was on the McClay Street Bridge, and seeing that it's coming, that's going to be interesting. I don't have any questions, but just glad to see that we'll be working side by side with PennDOT as far as making sure that the bridge stays clean, open, operational, and as Vice President Jones and I have been harassing the city, make sure that the lights stay on the bridge. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councilwoman Green.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions for you.
Vice President Jones.
No questions. Was aware that this project was coming, so no questions.
Thank you.
President Hill.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rawls.
Good evening. I don't have any questions.
And Councilwoman Davis.
Good evening, Mr. Siders. No questions for me.
Thank you.
All right, anything else you would like to add?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes the work for the Public Works Committee. I'd like to move to add this to our next legislative session. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. We will now open the floor for public comment. Just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. If you're interested in offering any public comments, if you could please state your name and your address for the meeting record. If you don't feel comfortable sharing your address, please share the vicinity in which you live within the city. You will have 4 minutes to share your comments. Mr. Truesdale has added a timer to the screen for your reference, and I will begin.
Madam President and council members, my name is Gary Lanker. I'm the Executive Director of Tri-County Housing. Appreciate the opportunity to be before you and update you on a number of our organization's activities. It has been some time that I've been before this body. In fact, there are a number of new faces on council since I've been last year. I asked Jared to hand out a packet of information that you can take with you and see a number of the activities, the depth and the breadth of what our nonprofit affordable housing organization is accomplishing. I did want to give you a personal invitation to a unveiling and ribbon cutting that we will have next Wednesday, the 13th of May, for our North 4th Street home ownership project. It includes the completion of 5 townhouses for sale to low to moderate income buyers, and does have a preference for veterans on some of the funding that we received. In fact, there's a lot of firsts with this project. Some of you may not know this, but last year was Tri-County's celebration of its 35th year of serving as a nonprofit and a community housing development organization here in the city. For full disclosure, I have not been here all that time. I am in August. It will be my 12th year leading the organization as its executive director. But our history and footprint has historically been in the South Allison Hill neighborhood of the city. This particular project is the first outside of that neighborhood, and I will share with you that that was at the request of Mayor Williams. When we met with her when she first came into office, she indicated that she would like to see affordable housing throughout the city, and we were fortunate to be able to work with the Brian Davis and the City Redevelopment Authority acquiring that site and building that project. The other first for that project is we received a Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh Affordable Housing Program grant in the amount of $750,000 that was issued to us in December of 2024. It was the only grant given in the city of Harrisburg and the surrounding Tri-County area, so we were very proud of that. In addition to that, we are now neighbors of yours. Our office does reside at 201 North Front Street, next to the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. In June, it'll be 4 years that we relocated from 1514 Dairy Street, the office of the Community Action Commission. And another first, this Saturday, we will conclude our 4th year of serving as a HUD-certified home buyer counseling agency. We've been providing that service one Saturday a month, 8-hour class, and we have had great response to that. We have had typically between 15 and 30 attendees every month of that. We do get support from Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency and the Dauphin County Commissioners to provide that service. So there's a lot of great information in that packet for you to look at. If you have, my card is there with my cell number. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them now, but thank you for letting me be before you.
Thank you. Is there anyone to my right that would like to offer public comment? Oh, you're good.
Okay.
Thank you. Mhm.
Oh, Lordy. Good evening. My name is Darian. They call me Mr. D. I'm not going to give a presentation like he did, but I had other concerns that I wanted to speak about. But this doesn't look like the right place to do it. So if by chance I can get some of your information concerning the package that you passed out. And I guess I just want to talk about one thing. There's a lot of destruction going on in the city of Harrisburg. I live downtown, and it seems like it's deliberate. Buildings are being hit by vehicles. Those, I don't know what you call them, the chains, that they're being knocked down. It doesn't take a human to do this. It takes a truck or something. And the Crown Hotel was hit by a car. So my question is, when this happens and you see it and you can almost report it, I mean, unfortunately, calling the police, they're so busy. You just can't do that. They're so busy. Who can you report this information to? That's one of the questions I have. Another question is about property that you rent, and once you get in there, the management is very disrespectful. And when you have no choices, then you have to be under their privy. They tell you if you don't pay your rent on time, you got 15 days to get out. There is no place for a person that doesn't know the information to protect themselves from these property managers that are just raising the rent 3-4 times a week. That's what it seems like. My question is, maybe I need to get more informed and come more to these here meetings and get a little bit more background information. So with that said, I'm not going to hold you up, but I will be coming to your meetings and reporting directly to you, because right now, unfortunately, I had 2 items stolen. That's worth over $5,000. I can't report it to my insurance company because the police can't give me a report. I went down there to make the report, and I don't speak Spanish. So I was stuck. They gave me a piece of paper and told me to go online and get out my office. This is the police station of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of things that seem to me is not working here. So I'm going to be the first one to report it, but I'm going to report it politely because I'm not taking it. Like I said, my name is Mr. D, and you will see me. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone to my left that would like to offer public comment?
Butts, Louis Butts, President, Council, good evening. Since 1930, there's been over 34 deaths of people going over the Dock Street Dam. And it's an issue, and it's always been an issue. And I think there's a federal case right now with the city based on not making it safe enough. And the deaths are irregular. And we haven't come up with a solution to saving those lives. And it's a serious thing. And I have a solution. And it kills 2 birds with that don't but it solves 2 problems. It solves the energy problem, and it solves a death problem, because people are dying. Now, either we let the people die over the Dock Street Dam, or we retrofit the Dock Street Dam with these turbines, and which brings in revenue. We can solve 2 things. There will be nobody killed anymore, and we'll have so much money. The Susquehanna is 340 million years old. That's before the dinosaurs. It's time for us to link up and make something that's going to last forever, or for beyond our lives. Or people are going to still fall over the Dock Street Dam and die. And there's already a lawsuit. It ain't just me whistling Dixie. It's coming with a solution. You know, we're here in this age, and men have to come up with solutions to the problems that we have that we're faced with every day. And then we ain't surprised. I'm not surprised. We say, stop it. And they're still going over the bridge, over the dam. It seems kind of funny that nobody's thinking about it. And there's lawsuits, the smart ones, there's a lawsuit, there's a case about we ain't got the brains to figure that one out. And it happens regularly, almost by clock. I'm gonna work with the engineers to try to stop the deaths. We still ain't figured out how the trucks are going over Front Street and going under the bridge at the hospital. I mean, we can set our clock to these things. It ain't me. I ain't going to the Dock Street Dam. But I'm gonna show up and try to save the lives that I know I can predict it. I can predict it. So let's put some numbers together. Let's draw some lines, squares and triangles, and get a solution for something. Okay? Yeah, we're together. Same page. I love you. And like D, I'm coming back. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the river. But don't, you know what I'm saying? It's
Thank
crazy.
you. Can you state your address or the vicinity in which you live?
Midtown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your night.
I don't believe there's anyone else, but I will just ask, is there anyone else that would like to offer public comment? Okay, seeing, hearing no one. The time is 6:56 p.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.